You have an infinite supply of potatoes. What do you do? Captain Ashbeard said, sell potatoes. Spindroon said, I would legitimately consider marrying a woman who asked for $10,000 of potatoes as her make-or-break engagement gift. A diamond? Nope. To be fair, the type of girl who needs 10 grand to prove you love her, when you just asked her to spend the rest of your lives together, is probably not worth your time. Pompous Rooster said, the scenario doesn't specify where my supply is. Even if it is in one location, not having to pay for land to grow, labor, farm machinery will significantly decrease my costs enough to undercut anyone. Even if there is someone on the other side of the globe who can compete because my shipping is too high and costs to get over there, that doesn't really mean much to me since I'd still control the vast supply of the global market. 2. If I make food prices cheaper, so be it. I'll pretend like I'm a philanthropist whilst I sit on my throne or gold. Box of Madness said, Potatonade, all Russia sportsman drink, completely legal to consume, only in Russia. And a secondary effect of potatonity coincidence has nothing to do with potatonity secured of tenor during Gorba for drinking potatonade will not badikernara boit her umpanoi potatonade trademark sign will not beturkan and tetrial under in a circumstances for marine formation probably twat her Russian flog. Heimlich Laboratories said, alright, I've been thinking. When life gives you potatoes, don't make potatonade. Make life take the potatoes back. Get mad. I don't want your damn potatoes. What am I supposed to do with these? Demand to see life's manager. Make life for the day it thought it could give Cave Johnson potatoes. Do you know who I am? I'm the man that's gonna burn your house down. With the potatoes. I'm gonna get my engineers to make a combustible potato that burns your house down. Dukiophthemy said, actually, it wouldn't be much different from oil. The problem with fossil fuels is that we're taking carbon sequestered in the ground and spreading it in the air. In the potato example, we're taking carbon from the ethanol, from the infinite void of the potato dimension and putting it into the air. We are never creating destroying matter, we're always just shifting it around in different configurations. Think of it this way, from an energy standpoint you could also just spawn your infinite potatoes from the top of a mountain and get energy via a potato waterfall, essentially a hydropower dam but with potatoes, not water. That would work as an energy source, but what do you do with the potatoes? I mean, you could dump them into a very deep canyon but eventually the canyon would get full. Even if the potatoes rotted, you would just have a canyon full of mush, not potatoes. Even if you fed all the potatoes to people and animals, you don't really get rid of the potatoes, you turn it into poop. Yeah, that turns into fertilizer and that turns into food, but you don't need that food anymore because you have your infinite potatoes. All you're doing is spreading the issue away from our canyon. Your infinite potatoes would eventually bury us all. Burning it just turns it into smothering us all with CO2 and before that point global warming. The banker said, if we're being completely honest, I'd start by feeling so overwhelmed that I cry. Never Talk Toth Police said, I feel like if you're generally a self-aware person, the fact that you can't possibly comprehend something is really annoying. Whenever a discussion regarding the fourth dimension comes up, I want to bang my head into the nearest wall immediately. I get the same feeling with things like infinity, or trying to visualize the size of the universe if I think about them too long. The fourth dimension is the one that really fucks with me though. I will immediately become pissed off if I even think about it. I am right now. Blue Owl 789 said, feed lots of people. Edit. Taking advantage of having this topish comment to help people out that like feeding others with potatoes. Potato fact, despite what you may think, potatoes are not roots of the plant. They are actually specialized stems. Why is this important? Well, you can grow more potatoes than you thought by growing them vertically. For example, plant some potatoes in a tire. Wait for the foliage to grow out of the tire and get bushy. Then, add another tire to the top of that, fill with dirt. Just leave enough foliage peeking out to get it sweet photosynthesis started and eventually it will become overgrown again. Repeat several times, then you can remove the tires one by one and harvest potatoes that grew up the entire structure. Ramses the Pigeon said, if I have a truly infinite supply of potatoes, well, I punish a former client. See, I was hired to do some writing and editing work for a small advertising campaign. The fellow in charge insisted that the finished materials include something akin to "Don't Forget Half Off Tuesdays." That should have been written as "Don't Forget Half Off Tuesdays." But the guy was adamant that hyphens confuse people and proper nouns need apostrophes. As a result, the finished product contained a number of utterly unacceptable writing errors, and I was left grinding my teeth. Anyway, back to the potatoes. Since I'd have a literally infinite supply, I'd condense collections, each one comprising a few trillion spuds, within most of the visible stars in the sky. These starch-based singularities would effectively erase the celestial bodies in which they appeared, leaving only those points of light that I selected. The end result would be a light-years spanning message which read apostrophes do not pluralize. Followed by, client's name here is an idiot. That would be visible whenever the sun set. Then I'd bury his house in potatoes. Formal Mango said. Well, I know what I won't be doing, and that's moving to Western Australia. It's illegal to be in possession of more than 50 kilograms of potatoes in the state of Western Australia. Unless the potatoes get delivered in lots smaller than 50 kilograms, and I can hold off the next delivery until I get rid of the first 50 kilograms. Edit. I just googled it, and it appears that since the last time I was researching Western Australian potato laws, the law may have been repealed with the deregulation of the market and the abolition of the Potato Marketing Corporation of WA. But I'm erring on the side of caution. I don't want to end up in Bandai prison for daring to take on Big Potato. Capt Valentine said. Are these your potatoes, sir? What potatoes? Those aren't mine. There's at least 600 kilos of the brown stuff in your ute, mate. That hardly seems like private use. Oh, those potatoes. Of course they're private use. I'm holding them for a friend. Cut the shit, sir. I've seen your type, prowling the edges of a school, getting the kids hooked on dirt apples, maybe handing them out one chip at a time. Course the first tastes free, then by the next week they're munching on the raw starchy stuff. You make me sick. You're going away for a long time, you goddamn spud trafficker. Formal Mango said. It's a holdover from the Great Depression and post-war food insecurity. The Potato Marketing Corporation of WA tightly controlled the market, from what types of potatoes can be grown, to how much they can be sold for. I just looked it up again, because the last time I looked up WA potato laws was for research purposes in 2012, and it looks like the industry may have been deregulated. Knock 201 said. Trap enemies in a potato hell. Need to go to the bathroom. Shame there is a potato clogging the toilet. Want to have dinner? Shame there is only potatoes want to re-enter Earth. Shame there is nowhere to safely land, just potatoes. Stock not doing well enough, stacked potatoes to the moon. Not enough potatoes? Drown them in potatoes. Too many potatoes? Drown them in potatoes. Can't sleep? Drown them in potatoes. Tired of potatoes? Drown them in potatoes. Bodies stacking up from all the potatoes? Drown them in potatoes. Have a problem you think I can't solve with potatoes? Drown it in potatoes. Black hole is gobbling up all the potatoes? Keep sending more potatoes in until it becomes a potato. Datboy73 said. The answer is simple, it's because of the Brits. On a serious note, during the famine, the British government forced food exports to continue, meaning that there wasn't necessarily a lack of food, but rather, local people weren't allowed access to anything other than potatoes. It didn't help that the British government, which had control over Ireland at the time, had a bunch of basically racist cunts who thought that a potato blight and the resulting famine was a punishment from God. Disclaimer, I am not a historian. Some details may not be 100% accurate. Jean-Luc Picatero said. I think that means that you can have as many as you want, but you don't have them until you conjure them. There's not an infinite amount of potatoes in your basement, it's just that when you summon more, there's no cost and it happens immediately, and you can do this as much as you want. You're not causing a singularity, since there's only as many potatoes as you summon, which would presumably be however many you want need, rather than all potatoes, past, present, and future, since there would be a monetary cost to store millions of potatoes. Clackers 2020 said. Put them all in a pile, build a lowish wall around them and employ a bunch of guards to guard the potatoes. Then I'd brag about my massive supply of potatoes and people would try to steal them. The guards would pretend to try to stop them and let everyone get away. Unless the person trying to steal my potatoes was Irish. The guards get a 10,000 potato bonus if they catch an Irish guy. Wayne 13 said. Sell them? I mean, it seems pretty simple, but if I have an infinite supply, why would I want to bother with preparing them in any way or anything that takes any more time or effort? I have an infinite supply, so I can very effectively undercut the cheapest of the cheap suppliers, and I don't realistically care, because I can just keep supplying them at no real cost to myself. So, it's pretty easy and straightforward. Oh yeah, and since I have an infinite supply, I would likely set up large donations of potatoes to starving third world communities throughout the world. Again, I have as many as I need, so hunger needs to go. One Nebby boy said. Step 1. Watch the resources get depleted by too much demand and not enough supply. Step 2. Watch as everyone goes hungry and begs for food. The poor are enraged. Thus, kill the rich and take over their resources. They feed themselves for a while but it's not enough. Step 3. As they die from starvation I give them potatoes, for free initially. I make it look like I myself have a limited supply. Step 4. I start charging them for the potatoes because I don't have enough for myself either. I make them struggle for the food. Step 5. Just as they think that I myself have run out of potatoes, I tell them to come back to my place for more food. Just as they reach my house I give them 50+ kilos of potatoes. As they walk back home carrying the potatoes, everyone notices that they have food so they attack the one with the food to get more. Step 6. Tell them to stop fighting amongst themselves and give them more food than they could ever ask for. Step 7. Become God. Al Hail Matt from I said. Fortify my house with potatoes and set up thousands of potato cannons that automatically reload because they are set up to my potato supply. I commit horrible crimes and the police trace me back to my house. I start shooting the potatoes and the police call back up because these cannons are powered by my infinite amount of potatoes. Even if they don't have a lot of electricity in them there is infinite potatoes creating infinite power. The potatoes shoot out with enough force to destroy the moon. After this every cop in the world is dead. Now step 2. I sell my infinite potatoes for infinite money and buy a plane ticket for everyone in the world to come to my house for infinite food. Once everyone gets there I shoot my cannons again and kill everyone in the world except the ones I want alive. And that is how I destroy the world with infinite potatoes, and thank you for coming to my TED Talk. Yoldabeo 333 said. Step 1. Build a chimney out of potatoes that goes into the stratosphere. Step 2. Start a fire. Step 3. Set up a turbine above said fire, and have fire's exhaust go through aforementioned potato chimney into outer space. Step 4. Potatoes are now infinite fuel for my generator. I am now in control of an infinite power supply, thus ushering the world into a new age of technological enlightenment and spacefaring. I am God. Doge 102 said. Alright, I've been thinking. When life gives you potatoes, don't make potato aid. Make life take the potatoes back. Get mad. I don't want your damn potatoes. What am I supposed to do with these? Demand to see life's manager. Make life for the day it thought it could give Cave Johnson potatoes. Do you know who I am? I'm the man who's gonna burn your house down with the potatoes. I'm gonna get my engineers to invent a combustible potatoes that burns your house down. Edit. I saw someone already answered this. Obsist said. Donate to food banks because they're so versatile for cooking. Build up a reputation as a philanthropist. Create a trendy restaurant themed around potato dishes and use my new reputation to create interest in this business. Use the profits from my potato restaurant to fund research for potential other uses of potatoes in other products markets. Discover energy sources powered by potatoes to generate infinite energy. Potato Utopia. Danny Spud 2 said. I'd give away potatoes. If you want potatoes you can come fill up whatever bag, car, truck, container ship you want with potatoes for free. Then I'd start negotiating with governments around the world for them to provide me with grants to build warehouses and develop a global distribution network. After about 5 years all large-scale potato farms are now out of business, so are the majority of basic foodstuff farms such as wheat, rice and corn. It's just too hard for any of them to compete with literal infinite free potatoes. But not only this, my distribution business is outcompeting every other major global distribution business. Governments are paying for the shipping of the potatoes, might as well take on the rest of the global shipping trade for cut rate prices. Now the world economy starts shifting towards a fully potato-based economy. Fermentation plants are converting potatoes to ethanol to replace petrol in cars. New power plants are being built to burn potatoes for power. Countless other uses for potatoes are being exploited. We are not quite post-scarcity, but we've solved world hunger, and we're not at infinite energy yet, but we've got plenty of cheap energy. And I'm in charge of it all. All the food, all the energy, all the distribution. I've got the world by the balls, and the world will kneel. Long live Danny Spud's potato empire. Pixel GMS said, I'd do what anyone sane would do. Well, 3 things. Use potatoes to end starvation everywhere. Sure, potatoes can no longer be sold for money since no one is gonna pay for a free thing, but still. Fun fact, you can live purely off potatoes, at least according to Matt Pat from Film Theory. Give away potatoes to be used as fertilizer. I mean, I'm not positive, but you can probably turn potatoes into compost fertilizer. This would probably help with the economic hurt I do to farmers from the first item on the list. Make a generator from potatoes. Yes, generating electricity from potatoes is inefficient, and you'd never get as much electricity from it as you would with a nuclear reactor unless you had an infinite amount of space and wires, but that isn't what this would be. Instead, I'd throw the potatoes into a fire and generate energy like that. I might also make an island in an ocean completely out of potatoes. Also, if someone tried to restrict people from taking my potatoes, I'd magically spawn a pile of potatoes over them, crushing them instantly. Take that, fucking Kim Jong-un, you won't be stopping me from being generous. Note that this assumes I can just magically spawn potatoes and that I'm not getting like weekly deliveries of however many potatoes I want or something. I'd also change all my usernames to Potato God or something similar. Sega Nautican said, well, when life gives you potatoes, make potato ad. Which is of course vodka. Which you then further distill, solving any global energy or fuel crisis. The Middle East descends into chaos over suddenly plummeting oil futures. Investment into renewables plummets. Fusion research grinds to a halt. Without any mechanisms left to solve it, global warming causes human suffering on unprecedented levels. War erupts, 3 billion lives are lost because you couldn't keep your damn potatoes to yourself. Please don't give anyone infinite potatoes. If you do, I'll need that vodka to dull my despair for the future. Decent Cost 8427 said, I'll divide them according to the needs of peoples in other countries, becoming a social worker to stop world hunger and also becoming a supplier to various other industries which processes potatoes for potato chips, alcohol, etc. Thus becoming a billionaire, probably then start a company which will deal in military equipments and provide a contribution to science and our budding youth. When I've become the richest in the world, I'll run the country from the shadows and in some time conquer the world and make our society progress like never before. Administrative Bed 680 said, contact McDonald's and other fast food places that makes fries, sell them a weekly stock of less than the current market price of wholesale potatoes. Now that I'll be selling them at a lower price, I'll have huge funds. I will use those funds to build a walk-in and eat place for everyone and employees, staff and cooks to make meals and feed any person walking in. Now that my supply of potatoes to McDonald's and other fast food chain is running smooth, and assuming that I'm making huge profits, I'll start packaging meals for the homeless and hire a delivery team to deliver the meals to the people living in the streets. At some point, my endless supply of potatoes can eliminate hunger of a town.